Indiana Commission on the Social Status of Black Males. Welcome, Kenneth. Elizabeth Gore, at large, incumbent. Elizabeth Gore is a graduate of Crispus Attucks High School and a parent of IPS graduates. Welcome, Elizabeth. Kendra McKnight is not here right now. Hopefully she will join us a little bit later. So we'll move on to Vanita Moore, District 2, incumbent. Vanita Moore is a business consultant and a graduate of Arlington High School. Ellis Noto, at-large candidate. Ellis Noto is a veteran of the U.S. Army and currently is a staff sergeant in the U.S. Department of Defense. And lastly, we have DeQuavis Winston, District 2. DeQuavis is a former IPS specialist and coach who now works in the Dean's office at a large public high school. Welcome to everyone. As we get started with the program, please remember that we will have 7 questions total. Each candidate will have the opportunity to respond to 5 questions. The order to respond to each question was predetermined and was shared with the candidates in advance. These 7 questions were developed using input from over 50 families, community partners, and KIPP Indy educators, and Edna Martin Christian Center staff. So question 1, and the order of question 1 will go Allen, Gore, McKnight, and Moore. So question 1, well-prepared and committed teachers are vital for students to graduate, ready for college and careers. What are the policies, partnerships, and programs that should be championed by school board members to prepare, recruit, and retain high-quality educators in every single classroom? Kenneth, we'll start with you.
Thank you. I think it's critically important that our district be very intentional with recruiting teachers that reflect the population we serve. I think typically when kids or children see themselves reflected in the classroom and school leadership, they typically are held to higher expectations, and they tend to listen up and are willing to be more engaged. So I think it's critically important that we recruit teachers of color to reflect the population, but I also think that we have to talk to our children as early as kindergarten about the field of teaching to get them encouraged and excited about even going into the field. Far too often we don't have the graduate level students of color wanting to go into profession, so we have to talk to them a little bit early about the field of education. So those are 2 things that I would definitely champion as a school board member.
Thank you, Kenneth. Elizabeth?
Thank you. Thank you for having me here this evening. I would just like to say that I think we should have first high expectations of any teacher that we put on board. I also feel that because our school system is 75% African American and Brown students, that we definitely need to have teachers in our classrooms that represent them. One of the other aspects of teaching, I feel that our students need to know that when that teacher is in the classroom, he or she is expecting them to do well. When you expect a child to do well, your expectations are what he or she will attain for. And so I feel that those are important. I also want us to start reaching out through our leadership with schools in our community, some of the colleges, to make sure that they are training African American teachers to become part of our school system. I think that a lot of instances, people are feeling teachers aren't paid well. We in the IPS system are trying to change that. And so hopefully our teachers will get the resources they need to be able to teach our children. And that way we will retain them.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Moving on to, well, Kendra's not here, sorry. So Vanita, moving on to you. Vanita, can you hear me? Vanita, can she hear me? I don't think she can hear.
I can go right now, ma'am, if you'd like.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great question. Glad you asked it, and thank you for having us here, all of us, for this great conversation. So, what can we champion as school board members? Well, we've got to be a better employer. Kind of like Ms. Gore said, we've got to continue to raise the salary for our teachers. So we've got to work on attrition management. When we hire a teacher, we're not hiring them for a school year, we're hiring them for a lifetime, right? We want them to be dedicated to our students, and we should be dedicated to them, giving them the resources they need to have that career of educating our young scholars. We want to facilitate an environment where they feel they can facilitate that education. So we want them to feel comfortable in their educational environment.
Thank you. Vanita, can you hear me now?
Yes, I'm sorry. My system went down. I don't know what happened. I'm like, oh, right in the middle. So that means I didn't get the benefit of hearing what everyone had to say.
Okay.
So,
Well, I was a little concerned. So
me too.
now we've kind of got all out of order. So now I'm all discombobulated.
So join me as
Sorry.
I'm embarrassed as my system go down. I think I understand what the question that you're asking. So by all means, we want our children to be educated by those students and parents and teachers that look like the children that they're teaching. And by all means, I want to give a shout out to the teachers as they have tried and did great things during this COVID-19 that we're currently in, as they try and make sure that our children have an opportunity to move forward through this process. So shout out to them. Some of the things that I think we could do as a board is not only to work with the legislators to try to determine if in fact students who are within our district and go to school to secure a degree can also receive some type of refund as it relates to college tuition, be able to utilize some tax deductions as it relates to their tuition reimbursement back, for college education. Furthermore, I think that we can work closely with some of the HBCUs and other colleges as they begin to recruit and develop young teachers, bring them back to the urban community, and IPS will be one of those individual organizations. And finally, IPS currently now have a program where we provide an academic program around teachers with Marian University. I believe that's the university, at Marian University. So we need to continue to move that process forward. And of course, we must continue to advocate for quality pay for our teachers so that they can be compensated appropriately and therefore be able to maintain their families also.
Thank you so much, Ms. Moore. Moving on to the second question. Now, the demographics of the Martindale-Brightwood neighborhood and neighboring communities are changing. The number of students at KIPP Indy Public Schools are racially identified as Latinx has increased threefold over the last couple of years. Last fall, IPS reported an 8% increase in English language learners. What staffing and/or services should the district support schools with to ensure they are meeting the increased needs of English learners to graduate and to be prepared for life after high school? I'll start with you, Ellis. In this order, we'll go Ellis, Winston, Allen, and Gore.
I'm so sorry, my network is cutting out. Did you ask what resources we need to provide for our students that English isn't necessarily their first language?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So what resources to help them graduate and prepare for life after high school?
Yeah, great question. We've put so much pressure on our young scholars that they have to go to a 4-year, 2-year college upon graduation. We got to make sure they have the skills for success. So, be it going into a trade, be it going to college, be it going directly into the workforce, we want to make sure that they're well acclimated to being able to join our huger community as adults, right? So for those of us students that English might not be their first language, we have to make sure that we have the demographic of teachers and the caliber of teachers that are able to instruct fully in the native language of these young scholars, as well as be able to help them learn to join the English language and be able to facilitate that life here in Indiana.
Thank you. DeQuavis.
So I think one of the things we have to do is provide more resources and invest more funds into our ESL and ELL programs, not just for communication to the families, but in the classrooms and in our schools. Too often our students are taking standardized testing and taking classes, and they don't have materials in their language. I've seen too often teachers scrambling around ISTEP and other assessments trying to find a dictionary that's English to Spanish because we don't have those in our classrooms. It's even harder to find a dictionary that's English to French because we also have students who speak French in our district, and they're often, left out and behind, and we forget about them. We also have to consider the fact that even when we have students where they might speak English, their parents might not have English as their first language. So providing the resources for our students, the parents, investing in curriculum that's multilingual, investing in staff who speak more than one language, and that might even be adding an additional stipend to get more people who speak more than one language in our schools, and not just in the classrooms, in our offices, and our other support positions as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Next will be Kenneth.
Yeah, so I agree with the sentiments that have already been shared. What I would add to that conversation is we have to make sure that our district is not being culturally competent, but culturally comprehensive. And that means that every communication, both out and in, is set up in a manner that whatever language a student or family speaks, that we have the resources or the translators to be in a position to communicate those issues and concerns. In addition to that, I believe it's critically important that we discuss entrepreneurship and financial literacy for our scholars as early as kindergarten and continue that conversation up to 12th grade. The district has a plan, which is the 3 E's: employment, enlist or enrolled in for university. And I want to add another E to that, which is entrepreneurship education. When young people who typically are coming from low income, free and reduced lunch, they're coming to school hungry. They want to understand what is in the classroom going to teach me how to make money in the real world. How can I be successful? And I think that by introducing entrepreneurship, financial literacy as early as kindergarten and continue that conversation in 12th grade, we're preparing our young people to be business savvy and some life skills so that if they know how to make money, whether they go to college, the Army, or enroll in a 4-year institution, they have the tools and resources to be successful.
Thank you. Next up, Elizabeth, Ms. Gore.
I think that at this point, IPS is doing a great job with our newcomers program. We have a program at Northwest High School in which students who cannot speak the English language, they go to this program, and they not only are being taught to speak the English language, but they're given skills and tools in which to be able to be productive citizens. I think, kind of like it's already been stated, that all of our students need to have skills that they will be able to come out of school, not only to go to college, but be able to attain a job, be able to make some money for them and their families. So I think our English as second language students are being challenged at this point in their classrooms at our newcomers program.
For our next question, I invite a KIPP Indy student